On Google, if you search diabetes blood sugar level India, then Google's AI overview gives you three ranges: normal, pre diabetic, and diabetic. At first glance, the numbers mostly look right. But if you look closer for a moment, then you'll notice something that's a little bit wrong. The AI overview lists the post meal recommended sugar threshold as under 180 milligrams per deciliter. The ICMR, or the Indian Council of Medical Research, on the other hand, says that the threshold should be under 200. That is a 20-point difference. Now, most people searching for medical information online won't catch the error, and that is the danger. Ma'an Zawati, a medicine professor at McGill University, said in an interview with a Canadian broadcaster that the danger is subtle, but it's significant. It's not just that the AI can be wrong, it's the fact that it can be wrong in a way that feels right. And what makes it riskier is this: that the content usually comes from big name hospitals. Here's how: corporate hospitals fill their websites with medical articles optimized to rank high on Google. And because they carry a trusted hospital's name, AI search tools treat them as credible to base their own output on. The deeper problem is this: that this content isn't just being read by AI, it's increasingly being written by AI as well. In June, a healthcare content consultant audited nearly 500 articles across the websites of five top hospital chains: Apollo, Max, Fortis, Medanta, and Artemis. And the findings, which were shared with the Ken, were quite concerning. The consultant found that these articles cited wrong wait times for procedures, recommended discontinued drugs, listed outdated emergency protocols, and used Western clinical benchmarks on Indian patients. Many of them even had the telltale signs of AI writing. Menstrual discharge, for example, was mistranslated as sewage water. The month of May was changed into the verb can, and the mineral iron was confused for the household appliance. And there were also many AI coded phrases like let's break this down that showed up repeatedly. So basically, this is what was happening: AI writes flawed content, AI search tools read it, and then rank the flawed content quite prominently. This was creating a vicious, dangerous loop. My colleague, the Ken reporter Sudeshna Ray, spoke to Sujit Katiyar from KGS Consulting, which advises healthcare firms on regulation and AI compliance. He told her that hospitals are vicariously liable here. But unfortunately, that liability does not extend to legality. And that's just one reason why there is no clear answer to how this loop can be broken. But the fact that it exists at all, though, actually reveals a lot about why no one seems motivated enough to end it. Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from the Ken. I'm your host, Rachel Verghese, and every day of the week, my co-host Nita Sharma and I will bring you one news story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Monday, the 20th of July. If you scroll through the sources cited for that sugar level AI overview, you will see that you can't find ICMR or the Research Society for the Study of Diabetes in India, the two bodies that actually set clinical standards here, which both have guidelines that are public and freely available online. Instead, the links that are cited go to hospital websites like Metropolis, Artemis, Apollo, a WHO page, an Asian Heart Journal paper, and a blog post from Roche's diabetes care brand called AccuCheck. If you scroll further past the overview, then the top search results still show blog posts from Max Healthcare, Medanta, and smaller hospitals at the very top. Tabrez Maner, a Mumbai based healthcare investor and strategist, told Sudeshna that the entire system is already laid out. Hospitals try to rank their websites on top by having marketing agents generate entire blogs, even though they don't have any domain expertise. A copywriting consultant who works with multiple hospitals and clinics told us that corporate chains routinely outsource medical blogs to content agencies. But the final writer, he said, could be anyone whose research best friend used to be Google and now is Claude or Gemini. Naturally, the outcome of this is a flood of AI written content pushed in the name of the reputable healthcare brands and treated as authoritative by AI search tools even when it is unverified. A further side effect of this is actually that smaller clinics and hospitals copy this content onto their own sites and end up reinforcing its credibility and extending the loop further. And now, this incorrect information is everywhere. In fact, when the auditor shared these findings with the hospitals, most did not even respond. Some, like Fortis, quietly deleted tens of articles. Apollo was the only one that acknowledged the errors and actually removed some of the worst offenders from its website. Many flawed articles are still live, and that's simply because of how the model works. Manir explained to Sudeshna that the hospitals just go ahead and publish those blogs. Typically, there's no check for authenticity or any kind of review that happens. But the consequences of this go further than just the theoretical. Let's take a look at the diabetes query again. Google's AI overview shows two different HbA1c thresholds. Now, HbA1c is the standard measurement for long term blood sugar levels, and these thresholds are shown from two different sources. One says that the normal is below 6.5%, another says 7%. A tech professional who is building AI tools for clinicians explained why that is a problem. Now, imagine there's a patient whose report shows 6.7% and then they Google it and see the 7% figure. They could end up thinking that they don't have diabetes, delay diagnosis, and let their condition get worse. Sujit Katiyar from KGS Consulting, who I mentioned earlier, told Sudeshna that everything is complaint based. If you find something wrong, you file a complaint, and only then can something actually happen. Which means the burden of correction falls on the patient who is being misled. And that raises an important question. Why are hospitals putting out so much AI slop to begin with? More on this in the next segment.
Hi there. This is Vidhatri, the producer of Zero Shot, the Ken's podcast that covers everything about artificial intelligence. I'm here to tell you about our latest episode. It's an interesting one that covers something that you may have wondered about. We wanted to find out just how Chinese labs have managed to thrive by building models that come close to performing like those from the US. And when you think about how tightly regulated China's AI industry is, you've got to wonder whether these labs thrive because of that regulation or despite it. We invited Ken Rashifer, the head of tech policy research at Trivium China, to tell us about that. She covered a lot, like the cost wars that regulators can't stop, how the government is beginning to crack down just as AI is getting really good at finding cybersecurity holes, and how it might even go further to restrict Chinese frontier models from going overseas. That and more is in this episode, which is free to listen to until we put it behind a paywall. The link is in the show notes.
Actually, it all comes down to market incentive. Katiyar told Sudeshna that doctors and by extension hospitals cannot advertise. They can't say things like, I'm treating so and so disease, so you should come to me. But what they can do is educate patients, which is what all these blogs are supposed to do. Except, as Katiyar said, they are also essentially calling patients in, just in a different way. And AI just makes that whole process a lot easier for them. Hospitals use it to write content and also to optimize it for AI search tools so that their pages are kept in front of patients. Once again, let us go back to the diabetes query. Just below the flawed AI overview, search results point users to where to get tested in Jabalpur and name clinics like Metropolis, Dr. Lal Path Labs, and Apollo. Now, Google itself shakes off any liability from this by adding a disclaimer in tiny font at the bottom of its AI overview that says this is for informational purposes only. For medical advice or diagnosis, consult a professional. AI responses may include mistakes. Now, even this disclaimer is a sign that the company has learned to cover its bases the hard way. What happened was this. In January, The Guardian reported that Google's AI overview pulled liver function test ranges from Max Healthcare's website and presented them as medical fact, without any consideration for factors like age, sex, or ethnicity. The story sparked backlash, and Google pulled the AI overview for that specific query. The Max Healthcare article, though, stayed up. Now, it's not like people have not tried to fix this. Regulators have tried and failed. In 2023, the National Medical Council introduced rules requiring hospital published medical content to be factual and non misleading. But doctors and institutions pushed back, and the council eventually suspended the rules within 20 days. It went back to its 2002 Code of Conduct, which was written before smartphones, mobile internet, or AI existed. That means today there is no legal framework that is holding anyone accountable for spreading misleading medical information. So, how should consumer facing health AI be regulated at all? Stay tuned. Ashish Raichura, the founder of diagnostic AI company Scanbo, told Sudeshna that right now, AI interpretation should be clinician facing and not consumer facing. He believes that the tech and the people who use it need to walk before they run because the stakes are simply too high to be moving faster. He argued that AI tools can misdiagnose symptoms or return false positives and negatives. Right now, the technology simply is not mature enough to hand out medical advice, and neither is the data that it runs on. Even Maner, the healthcare strategist I mentioned earlier, agreed that a verification layer for AI generated health content is not even on the horizon yet. He told Sudeshna that it's much too early for any startup or organization to even claim that they can bring any sort of authenticity to this. He also pointed to another deep set problem that Indian healthcare AI is just built on the wrong data. The thing is, Indian and Asian patients have different genomic sequences and thresholds, but most AI models are trained on Western data that don't know any of that. He explained that the health data AI models get trained on only represent 4% of Asia Pacific populations right now. That means much of the AI generated medical advice simply is not built for Indian patients. Now, there are startups that are trying to close this gap, though Manir said that they tend to overestimate what they can deliver, partly because India does not have robust health data for training AI. Even AI Kosh, the government's own health database, is not clean enough at the moment. He even told us that he has seen many deals not fly through after a pilot because they simply cannot take the risk in healthcare. Plus, investors get cold feet fast because they start questioning feasibility and scale. Manir argued that that means that regulators need to move with the same caution. The accountability needs to be shared between hospitals, AI developers, and regulators. And as long as accountability stays undefined, hospitals, AI companies, and search platforms will keep pointing fingers at each other, all while the vicious loop keeps running.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of the Ken, India's first subscriber focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber only offerings. A full subscription offers daily long form feature stories, newsletters, and a whole bunch of premium podcasts. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the Ken website. Today's episode was hosted and produced by my colleague Rachel Varghese and edited by Rajiv Sien.